Every tragic mass shooting, gun control is brought back into the national conversation. Before this week's school shooting in Nashville, Oregon lawmakers were drafting a bill that would amend certain sections of Measure 114, which would restrict gun ownership. Fox 12's Connor McCarthy looked into Senate Bill 348 and joins us live with testimony from Oregonians about why some do and do not support the bill. Connor.
Well, Riel, as you know, Measure 114 has been held up in state courts since the end of last year, but lawmakers in Salem are already trying to figure out a way on refine some of the details and outline exactly how this measure will be implemented here in Oregon. Now, Senate Bill 348 would essentially keep most of the measure intact, but there are some amendments that are grabbing attention. Gun control is back in the Oregon State Legislature. This round features a Senate bill that would amend portions of Measure 114 that was passed by Oregon voters in 2022.
I think that this is an important bill to pass specifically because Measure 114 has been stalled in the courts.
Kara Chen is a student at a local high school in Lake Oswego. She says Senate Bill 348 would ease her and her peers' anxiety about gun violence making its way on their campus.
If I were to try and explain the current anxiety of youth in this school system to adults, it would just be like a feeling that the threat is everywhere.
Though the proposed bill doesn't directly address gun violence on school campuses, Kara says it will help. One of the amendments would raise the age to buy a gun from 18 to 21.
You know, our brains aren't fully developed until like our early 20s, and maybe giving like a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old access to like an assault rifle is not the best idea. I think that's something that all of my classmates as teenagers do agree on.
The bill would also change details of the permitting requirement process for guns. Permits could only be given out objectively by a local sheriff's office or a police department. The price of permits would go up from $65 to $150 with a renewal price of $110 every 5 years. A third of this money would go to processing background checks, while the rest would go to local law enforcement. The firearm safety course required to get a permit can now be completed with a law enforcement agency or an approved community college or gun training school. Those who oppose the bill say this action doesn't do much but accept balloon government overreach.
It turns out all of these features of this bill that's before us today are just hoops to get through to prove that the state has done something, when in truth the state hasn't accomplished anything.
I think the bigger issue that we need to look at, which was mentioned once before, is the mental health issues within the state of Oregon and the lack of treatment facilities and abilities to treat those that have mental health issues.
Kara says she knows mental health treatment needs to be addressed, but at the end of the day, she says violence of any kind should not be tolerated, and she believes that this bill would help curb some of that violence.
And it doesn't address everything that we wish that it would address. It offers us like a step-by-step way into a future that looks a little safer for us.
And Riel, there is a work session on this bill scheduled for Thursday, and if you'd like to put in a written testimony to state lawmakers, they're accepting that until tomorrow at 5 p.m. Now, there are a lot of amendments. This was a 64-page bill, and that's not enough time to tell you all at home exactly what is in this bill, so we have a link to that document on our website at kptv.com. Reporting live in the mobile newsroom, Connor McCarthy, Fox 12 Oregon.